Hi, so this is some kind of a recorded video during my morning walks. Aside from my personal reflections, I feel I should speak about some things about in my industry, in digital marketing, that most people or most businesses don't think about. So oftentimes we already know that email marketing can be powerful, can be really helpful for businesses, outreach, inbound, and everything in between. But sometimes businesses forget, or businesses don't realize that email marketing is not easy as it seems. There are a lot of variables at play. There are a lot of things to consider. Sometimes people think that once you have email addresses, you can simply send out email blasts. Wow, sounds fancy. But even with email blasts, there are a lot of things to consider. You know, when you start setting up emails for email marketing campaigns to a huge number of people, or an email list perhaps, there are, for example, if you have a new email, you must think of email warm-up. Email warm-up gets your email domain to a certain point of authority that it makes sure your messages reach person's inbox. And even with just domain authority and spam detection and other things, there are also intricacies there. So there's DKIM, there's your choice of email provider, and everything else. Also, people think that once they have a good email domain running, they can send just about anything inside their emails, and they skip the part where there are a lot of every email provider has their own parameters, what to consider spam and what is considered an inbox worthy email. So you also must consider the number of links you put in an email, how you've included them in your warm-up, and other than that, of course, just because you have something in mind to share to your email list, does it mean that you'll immediately get them to action. Nowadays, when people ask me what would be the best subject line, is personalized better, is generic better, do I use emoticons, do I use proper sentence construction in an email subject line? And almost often, or almost always, I say that I don't have the exact recommendation, and that A/B testing should inform us about that. Often, most companies, of course, who wouldn't be, right? Yeah, we're too afraid to test subject lines. We are too accustomed to a certain rule book that must be followed because those are what grammarians taught us about. So even for business emails, there are opportunities to optimize them for better click rates, open rates and click rates. And that some rules in the book are meant to guide us for sure, but they are also meant to be, those theories are also meant to be tested every so often. So I tell them, launch an email campaign to a segmented list and have multiple variations and see which one works, which email subject line works, which layout would work better, which products or which images would get more clicks during your click analysis. Then we decide which email content performs better, which email subject lines and content works better. So yeah, that's one of the things in my head that most people don't, most businesses don't even consider. So it's when you say, oh, it's just email blast, that's easy. No, it isn't. To get an email to a good working condition, you'd have to take at least a week of warming it up daily or every other day, hoping that it reach your contacts inboxes. So, and you ramp up slowly starting from day one. You have to really compute that out to find out. This is how it usually goes. You have to identify the average number of emails you'd be sending out in the next few months. Then you have to compute how you can somewhat distribute that number and schedule a warm-up for that. Then after that, you should include it in your warm-up is your content. Make sure you put them there already, images, links, text, emojis and all, so that it gets included in the warm-up as well. Another thing to consider also is that sometimes you can't really get that perfect email layout for just about every device and every email provider. So there will definitely be instances, for example, for iOS, that sure, an HTML layout will work for most phones, but when you go to devices with dark mode, where the colors are directly inverted, you'd see that some of your images don't work with black backgrounds. And with that, you just can't blame your email supplier or your email marketing team immediately. They'd have to devise a way to make sure that the background stays white if you need them to be white. Something like that. So yeah, buy now may not always be the best call to action. Sometimes learn more is more, depending on where your customers are in their buying journey. Sometimes learn more may get better click-through rates than buy now. Or say for promotions, it's not always the higher amount of discount that works. Maybe, or there are really times that free delivery works better than a 20% discount. So these things you can't identify if you just stick to your gut and what the book usually tells you. So imagine how much margin you can keep if you just know what offer works best for your business. Sometimes you don't really have to do discounts. Yeah, you can really find these out just by observing the data of your emails in your emails. So sometimes the barrier to purchase or the barrier to purchase for the perceived buyer, in your customer's head, the perceived barriers to purchase may not necessarily be just the price, but also their consideration for delivery fees, their consideration for delivery time, and the perceived what they call this, the convenience, the perceived convenience that they'd get if they order from you. A lot of things really, but I hope with this email thing, email realization thing I put out, you get to learn something about what I do.